So I'm Oliver. I am a life and mindset coach. I've been in the personal development game for about 8 years now, which is wild. I've been in it since I was about 18 when I discovered the power of like the law of attraction and how your kind of thoughts and feelings can shape your reality. But we won't be focusing on that too much today. So I'm a life and mindset coach. So I'm a former YouTuber. I used to kind of give agony aunt kind of advice for the LGBTQ plus community, which was a really insightful and amazing time of my life. But that did kind of come to an end just naturally. And then I'm a digital marketer by trade, kind of help other companies create some sales funnels and look after their social media and things like that. And of course, I am a 9 to 5 survivor. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to bring up a few points through this because we don't have a lot of time together. But the first point is when you're kind of going through your journey to become your own boss and breaking out of that 9 to 5 grind, I think it's really important that we kind of don't make the 9 to 5 grind and your journey to being your own boss enemies, where a lot of people do feel that way. It's about finding the right job that gives you flexibility or enjoyment or both. But basically, could be what I've in my experience have learned to do is kind of get a job, find a job that works around your current lifestyle, your kind of works around you basically. And there's lots of opportunities now since over COVID that you can do that. And hybrid working is one of them, and flexi time's one of them, where I would used to work my 9 to 5 in the morning, few hours in between the day, I'd work on my own stuff and then finish the work day with my 9 to 5 stuff. And then I would have the whole evening. So it almost felt like I was cheating in a way, because as much as I was in a 9 to 5, it really didn't feel like that. So this is me in my old role at a university where I was a social media assistant. And in order for me to kind of capture the best kind of social media stuff, I had to get involved with it. So this is me during a freshers week, um, with an Earthcon war, which was really cool experience actually. So basically, just to round this key point up, it's just all about kind of making sure that you have a job that kind of works with your lifestyle, your kind of goals. Because I just think there's a lot of kind of gurus out there, business pages on Instagram and social media that kind of say leave your role and kind of pursue your dreams. But a lot of us can't necessarily do that because we've got bills to pay and people to feed. So I think finding the sweet spot between finding the right job and pursuing dreams is the secret sauce, basically. So leading on to that is if you can't necessarily move your job because particular set of skill, or you have to like be out in the field to kind of do your job, then embrace your current job. Now, there's a few kind of perks to embracing your current job. And for me personally, it felt as though where I was so focused on trying to achieve my goals and really coming from like a lack perspective, and that ultimately turned into overwhelm, and trying to stay positive about it became toxic to me. So I found going to my job was actually a nice temporary break for me, which sounds crazy, but it's just so true. I kind of found the kind of flow of being focused and present right in that moment and not having to think about anything else in that moment, just kind of doing my job. Where, to be honest, the thought of it used to cripple me, but understanding the bigger picture, knowing that this is temporary, knowing that I could go home and focus on my goals when I got home, made those feelings of overwhelm and just they just dissipated a lot quicker. Now, there's like a few things I want you to take away from this part. And first one is obviously the temporary break from the goals. I think that's healthy because it gives you a nice fresh perspective for when you go back to them. But it's also things like when you want to start your own business, I mean, you can get carried away, which everyone does, get carried away with the idea, get carried away with how it's all going to work, the logistics of it. But we don't necessarily always think about the team that we're going to have behind us. Now, for me, I discovered that what you put out into the world is what you get back. That's what I truly believe. And for me, that meant meaning being the kind of employee that you'd want to have in your own business. So I would intentionally choose to do my best at my job in order for me to understand what kind of person I'd be looking for in my own position, in my own business. Because without the perfect team, without a great team, you can only go so far in a business. So another thing that I used to do is use my lunch break, my 1 hour lunch break, the 1 hour that you're allowed to just have to yourself during the 9 to 5. I used to use my lunch break as a self-development hour, which meant I would read relevant books to help me increase my knowledge by even 1%. And then even sometimes I would kind of listen to relevant podcasts and kind of just self-educate, soak up all that information. And I noticed a huge change between what I was like when I came in the morning and how I continued the rest of the day after lunch. I just saw the bigger picture. I knew I didn't want to be in this job anymore, but coming from like a place of your higher self, I guess, I could see that this was temporary. I knew that was temporary. I had to think about what this job was actually giving me at this current moment of time. And that was a place to live, food on the table, and a little bit extra to have some fun on the weekend or in the evening sometimes, which ultimately shifted my perspective on the whole 9 to 5 thing. That was a big turning point for me. So in this photo here, I was working in a care home, which was profound in itself, and speaking to all these different kind of residents. They're like in their 90s, talking about their life experience and all things like that. It was amazing because it was just super inspiring to listen to what they've been through and how life was for them. I mean, it's what it's crazy to think because their life was a lot different to what life is like now. And it's almost funny to hear the way they speak about work and how they go about their mindset. And obviously a lot has changed, but there are some key lessons that I found absolutely profound. And it's almost like I spoke to this one resident who was living with dementia, and she taught me a bit more of a lesson about being able to stay in the present moment. She was on the early side of a dementia diagnosis, and she was saying how there are some times where things kind of just disappear and you feel helpless in that situation, but there are times where you feel like you're right in the moment, and she chooses to cherish those times where she's in the moment. And that's from then on, I chose to cherish every moment, even if that meant I had to embrace my current job. And it turns out it worked out for the best. So next slide, staying laser focused. Oh, see, I used to suffer with procrastination a lot, like a lot. It used to be my worst enemy until I started planning. I started using digital planning apps and things that will help me stay laser focused. And I discovered that planning was the antidote for procrastination. And it allowed me to kind of break down exactly what I needed to do. Because my problem was that I would have all these things pop up in my head, like, oh, I've got to do this, got to do that. Or how do I move on forward from this challenge in order to get to where I want to be in my business? And it was interesting because after I felt all those feelings, I listened to something that Will Smith said, and it was about him and his brother, and they were building a wall for his dad. I'm not sure if you've heard this analogy, but basically, Will Smith was like, "Oh, we've got this to build this whole wall. This is going to be a huge task. Like I feel overwhelmed by it just looking at it." And his dad was like, "Well, instead of thinking about the wall, think about the brick. Think about laying the brick perfectly, and then the next brick, and then the next brick, and then the next brick, and then before you know it, you've got a whole wall." Which I thought was really interesting and kind of relates well to having a planner, because you can consider each step as kind of laying the perfect brick. But not only this, you can kind of look back on the progress you've made. When you're having those days where you feel like, oh, impatient and just, I've had enough. Like, this is taking far too long and you're feeling a bit uninspired, then the perfect thing to do is look back on your planner and see how far you've actually come. See how many steps you've actually completed in your life, and almost celebrate that win, because that's what's going to ignite the momentum and the motivation and the inspiration to move forward and lay that next brick. So this leads me on nicely to my next slide, which is the Sunday evening routine. So I want you to think for a moment how you currently spend your Sunday evenings. Think about how productive they might be. Some of you might choose your Sunday evenings to be the time where you absolutely get to the grind and really work on achieving success for yourself. Others, like myself, like I used to be, would be hungover for most of it, watching David Attenborough and not doing a lot else, and then spending the evening in bed, having an early night, then waking up and it all starts again. But the moment I started changing my Sunday evening routine, this was the moment where I felt a big change. I felt control back into my life, regardless whether if I had a 9 to 5 or not. I just believe that your week should start on a Sunday evening. So just reflect for a moment on your Sunday evening. I mean, we don't have enough time to kind of just be like, so guys, tell me about your Sunday evenings, because yeah, the clock's against us. But reflect on it, write it down, come back to it, and then think about how you can renew this. And some of the things that I'm going to share with you now in my secret Sunday hacks, you might be able to use for yourself. And even kind of talking about this situation, this kind of circumstance, it might trigger some other thoughts that you can find helpful in your own Sunday evening routine. But for me personally, I like to spend Sunday a bit of self-care, maybe a nice relaxing bath or a nice cold shower, or just like moisturizing, just kind of looking after yourself basically. And then I like to have a little meditation and kind of release all the energy from the past week. I find that is really helpful. I don't know whether many of you meditate, but if you don't, you should definitely try it. Guided meditations are the best and the easiest, because they help you stay on track and stop from making you think about what you're going to have for dinner tomorrow and things like that. So yeah, short meditation really just kind of changes the game. And then I go into planning. I think about what are the top 3 things that I need to do next week that is going to push me further and lay the bricks I need to lay to create my wall. And then after I've done that, I kind of think about the potential challenges that may come up, because there's always going to be challenges. And the next slide, I'll be sharing some of the challenges that I've faced so far, which are probably very relatable for many of you in this journey. But think about what kind of challenges may come up, because life is a whirlwind. But you just need to think about how these challenges can be overcome and how you can respond to these challenges rather than react to them. So what is the benefit of all this? Well, the benefit is that you gain more control. You allow yourself to guide your week and control your week a little bit better, rather than your week guiding you and letting life just kind of pull you down the river, basically. Um, so yeah, so those are my kind of main benefits of changing up your Sunday routine. Because another a benefit of this is that it also clears enough space in your mind to open up new ideas about new potential products or businesses or just general new ideas to kind of get down get down on your list of to-dos, basically. Right. So this brings me on to navigating challenges. And these are the top three things that were absolutely kind of controlling me. Imposter syndrome was a massive one. As a life coach, a 26-year-old life coach, imposter syndrome was huge because the clients that I have are in their 30s, in their 40s. And I felt like, how on earth am I, who am I to guide someone through a process of change, transformation, and changing their mindset and things like that? And no one else said anything like that to me. It was just my own mind battling with itself. But I realized for me, overcoming that meant that I had to almost give myself a bit of love and just understand that there are people that have more life experience, but they haven't put the energy into learning about the psychology behind things, the psychology behind habits and how people act and, you know, although all those kind of things. I mean, it will be different who to you all really, if you're unless you want to become a life coach. But if you're running a business and things like that, then it's going to come up. It's going to come up because it's not something that you're used to. And I've now learned that being in the imposter syndrome mode just proves to me and is evidence to me that I am in a state of growth, and growth is so uncomfortable. But that is a kind of pain that I'd happily be in. So doubt and fear kind of go hand in hand. Fear kind of drips onto doubt and vice versa. But I had a lot of doubts. I had lots of doubts about, um, okay, is this is this what I want to do? Like, am I sure? I'm one of those people that I used to be one of those people that would like the idea of something, but when it actually gets to it, I just I couldn't do it. Even though I probably could do it, I just didn't. I wasn't really aware of myself enough to really push myself through it. So I had all those kind of doubts, really, like, am I going to do it? And then that kind of came from the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, and actually the fear of success as well. So for me, the fear of failure was something that I just really try to avoid and ignore. But what was interesting is it's weird. I don't know if you've ever seen the Disney Pixar film Inside Out, where Joy tries to make everything happy all the time, like literally all the time, and made sure that sadness was put in the corner and kind of not not engaged with. But it turns out that everyone needs a bit of sadness to appreciate the joy. And that's the same for failure. You've got to experience a bit of failure to understand the success. And then you go into fear of success. And the fear of success is something that you don't necessarily have to really think about until you get there, because your success isn't going to come unless you're ready for it. You have all these other things you need to get done first. By the time you get to your version of success, you would have completed all the other tasks. But yeah, so that's the kind of those are the kind of things of how I've overcome it. It's kind of fear of success is like laying each brick. It's going back to that kind of analogy. But and also to kind of dissipate all these feelings, which kind of goes back to planning and all those kind of things, is celebrate the small wins, tracking your progress and celebrating the small wins. When you're feeling these emotions, knowing that what you've already done counts and seeing how far you've come from then until now. So let's sum this up a bit, because I have probably given you a lot of information. So find the right job. So we need to find a job that's that kind of sweet spot between enjoyment and flexibility. If you can find a job in the field of like your desired business that you want to create, then that is an absolute bonus. But don't forget though, it may take time to find the right job to like kind of work hand in hand with your desires. They don't necessarily obviously have to relate to each other, but you need to find some mental stimulation in your job in order to kind of help you climb the ladder, let them come together, basically. So then we go on to embracing your current job. Remember to kind of use it as a reset and ignite the energy to come home and work on your own goals. What else have we got? So, oh yeah, and also don't forget about becoming the employee that you would want your employees to like join your business. That's a really big one. Again, use a planner to stay laser focused. You'll be able to track your progress a lot easier and eliminate procrastination. I can't tell you that enough, and you can get a lot more done as well. Use your Sunday evenings to better prepare yourself for the week ahead. Important step. Meditation, self-care, goals for the week. Like I said, there might be other things that you can add that's more personal to you and more relevant to you. But yeah, add it in there. Everyone's on their own journey. But ultimately, the goal is to live life more intentionally and guide your week rather than it guide you. So finally, we've just discussed it. Challenges are going to show up. That's life. It's how you respond rather than how you react to them. That's what really counts. And ultimately, just make sure that your job and your dreams work hand in hand together and don't make them arch enemies, because that's when stress is about the two come. That's when you feel like you really want to work on your goals, but you've got to work, you're getting pulled between each one. Let them come together and work together and know that your 9 to 5 is temporary. Perfect. So thank you. I really hope you enjoyed this little masterclass on behalf of HelpBnk. I hope you found it insightful and there's a few pearls of wisdom that you can take away, I hope. So any questions? Now is the time to ask. Oh yeah, Monday.com's pretty good. I also recommend Trello as well. Trello's good. And if you're doing it on like an iPad or something like that, then basically that's better. If you're doing an iPad as well, I recommend GoodNotes. GoodNotes is really good. Yeah, Trello is good. Any more before we will head off and continue our day. I'm painfully frustrated having to work a 9 to 5. How do you deal with that? I think it really depends on how you find your actual job. You need to kind of ask yourself, what are the things that actually cause you frustration? Is it because you want to start your own business, or is it because you just simply don't like your job? These are the things you kind of need to ask yourself. And then kind of almost have a conversation with yourself to figure out what is the best kind of solution for you. Okay, have a look. Okay, thank you, O. What advice do you give to people wanting to set up their own business and gain financial freedom? I think my biggest advice to wanting to set up your own business and gain financial freedom is money is important, but don't necessarily think too much about the money. Think about how you can serve others and how you can give value to others first, and kind of create a business model out of that. Because it will feel a lot more kind of fulfilling for you, for sure. And then from there will be a certain brick along the way that will help you gain more financial kind of freedom, I guess. But remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's yeah, just take it one step at a time. Um, do 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 do. Right, I go back to Claire quickly. I feel like my 9 to 5 is holding me back, but I need to pay my bills. Exactly. This is what I mean by kind of allowing your 9 to 5 and your dreams to support each other, basically. Um, so if it's holding you back, maybe if you can find an opportunity um, to create more purpose in your life and stop necessarily making them fight each other. So if you create more purpose in your life, you can try volunteering and stuff, and then you can add another element into your life. So it's not necessarily just focused on your 9 to 5 holding you back from your dreams. If you add another element of serving others, it kind of creates this perfect triangle. And then you can focus more your energies on serving others and starting your own business. Um, Let's have a look. I'm in a state of fear of success. What steps did you take to? It's a crazy feeling. It's a crazy feeling being in a state of fear of success. I think the main thing for me was to kind of remember why I was doing this in the first place. I think it was just more to do with the fact that if you come from a place of serving others, then that success won't go. That success will grow instead. And it's about making sure the success doesn't change you and your values and your priorities as a person, no matter who might come into your life, no matter how impressive they may be. And that's the kind of steps that I've kind of taken, and just allowed me to ultimately this allowed me to like live more authentically, and now I know who I am. Hope that helps. Okay. Um, is there anything else? I think, well, we've gone over now, so we can, I guess I'll wrap it up. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you to HelpBnk for having me. And yeah, maybe I will speak to you all soon. Thanks so much. See you later.